The book ban happening all across the country has been affecting everyone from librarians, students, school boards, and even local political groups. All of that is put under a microscope in the brand new PBS documentary, The Librarians. And joining me now is director Kim Snyder, along with librarian Julie Miller. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Blake.
So, ladies, I had the chance to watch this documentary yesterday, and I loved it, first of all. But just to get people excited here, kind of give me a brief rundown on what people can expect from The Librarians.
Well, actually, the film started over 4 years ago, right where you were sitting in Austin, Texas. I had learned about what became known as the Krause list of a state representative who had issued a list of 850 books that school librarians should review and take off their shelves. And they were largely targeting characters, LGBTQ plus, themes of race, characters of color, authors of color, and sex education. And I learned about a group of librarians sitting right there near Austin who were calling themselves the Freedom Fighters. And they were speaking out about this and starting to organize. And that began a journey that I did not anticipate for 4 years of my life, to chronicle a siege on librarians across the entire country that has escalated since we began. And so we're thrilled it's finally going to reach American audiences by way of independent PBS, Independent Lens.
Yeah, and it's done so well. And what I like is that you get so many different aspects of it, right? A lot of people in the country are familiar with the book ban at this point, but maybe they don't know kind of the deep rootedness within it. And so, Julie, for you as a librarian, you are featured in the documentary as well. How did this kind of impact your day-to-day and your job? Because, there were so many different librarians that talked about how it does affect them differently.
Yeah, absolutely. It rocked my world. I had been a high school librarian in my town for 9 years. Actually, I would say 8 years at the point when this all started. And within a year of just trying to work with the district, and even working with some of the folks who were concerned about books, allegedly, that trying to bridge that divide, and speak reason and common sense to the issue. It ended up landing me without my position in the library anymore after a year. So it completely changed my career, and it was devastating. Working with the high schoolers was the best job I'd ever had. I absolutely loved being in that library. So there was no way I was going to just let this happen when it came to all of the book challenges and the banning. To me, it was just, well, of course we can't let that happen. I mean, what a silly thing to do, to try to take books away from students who walk around with phones in their hands. Let's try to be reasonable here, but reasonable was not really in the room when it came to this conversation.
Yeah, and something that I think really impacted me as the consumer of it was when you all really kind of dived into some of these maybe series or books that are included on the ban list, because I think it would shock some people, including the recent popular series A Court of Thorns and Roses, as well as Hair Love. And so I'm curious from your all's perspective, to really just kind of spotlight this for a second. How does that really affect kids' sense of community, identity, autonomy, and understanding culture? Because I think that's the beauty of books, right? Is we understand the world better in a brand new way.
Absolutely. I mean, books, there's a great quote from an educator about how books can be mirrors and windows, and sliding glass doors. And so they can reflect our own experiences. They can give us a way to see into other people's experiences, and even step into their lived experiences. I know that I have personally gained a lot of empathy and understanding by reading about people who are not like me, who do not look like me, who do not come from the same background as me. And I when it comes to taking these books out of the schools, where it's essentially saying these books are unacceptable and therefore you are unacceptable because of your skin color, because of your religion, because of your gender identity or your sexual orientation, or even just questioning or wanting to learn more. So it's really harmful what's being done here. And it's also important to note that this is not really about books at all. This is really just an attack on freedom of information, freedom of access to information. And I think that we have seen that creep of attack on freedoms. And it may have started with the school libraries, but has gone well beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting too, you kind of alluding there to maybe like hiding identities or harboring them a little bit, because something that's said sort of towards the beginning was there's someone that mentions, their experience was books were locked away behind 3 locks within their library. And then that person said that that's like hiding a student's identity behind 3 locks. And I was like, wow, like that's really powerful when you think of that. So something else that I found really fascinating about this was kind of, history circling back in some ways. Like, for example, looking at novels like Fahrenheit 451 in 1984. So how concerned should we be? Is there an end in sight with the banning of this, or do you guys feel like it's maybe only getting worse?
I'm very concerned. I, for one, am very concerned. I think our film is both an alarm, a kind of bugle cry, if you will, and a dystopian, frightening portrait of things are happening in the country that may shock some people, namely the fact that criminalizing our librarians is actually something on the table. But it is also incredibly hopeful and inspiring. I think it reflects this moment that hangs in the balance, where people like Julie and other, I see them as American patriots standing up for our democracy, that we can take cues from them and not cower in fear and demand what is right, and stay true to our own personal integrity and to our constitutional rights.
Yeah. So in closing here, what do you guys kind of hope the takeaway or action ignited from the film is?
We want people to get hyper local. We want people to become civically engaged in their local community, because that's often where these issues play out, is in the local school boards, the library boards, the city councils. You actually can affect these things. There's generally a very low turnout of voter turnout for school board elections, but they're incredibly important. And these down ballot races are not partisan. They're not R or D. This is about getting involved in how these policies affect the future of our kids and public education at large.
Yeah, so impacting the future in greater ways than even maybe we can imagine. Now, The Librarians premieres February 9th on PBS's Independent Lens. Kim, Julie, thank you so much.